Hey, this is Edwin Dearborn, another edition of Growth Driven, and I'm here with my guest, Seiji Aspengren, and he is the CEO of Aloha Freight, which is a multi-million dollar brand in Hawaii. And we're going to talk about B2B expansion and some tips on how you can grow your brand. Hey, Seiji, thanks so much for being on Growth Driven. It's going great. We were introduced through a mutual friend, Bernard Bonner, who was earlier one of my guests on Growth Driven. And he insisted that I interview you because for a number of reasons. Number one, you're in Hawaii, so I think that's cool.
Super cool.
Yeah, it's super cool. Number two, you've got this very unique business, which is you do freight. I mean, that's very B2B. And then also, I know you worked with Bernard and there were some strategies that you worked on together that created some growth. So I wanted to talk to that. So how did you get started in the freight business? I mean, that's probably one of the more unique businesses I've interviewed.
Yeah, I mean, freight to Hawaii is it's its own animal. It's an interesting industry. It's different than probably anywhere else in the world, even within the United States or even Alaska. Hawaii has a unique situation. There's a tariff-driven system. It's just very unique and very specialized. So I was lucky enough to have a really good friend. His name is Corey Correa. We were friends, for almost 2 decades. He was in the industry for a very long time. I previously had a delivery company locally here. My dad started. So I've kind of been in the transportation industry my whole life. I grew up in my dad's company. I've only worked there up until my current business. My dad passed away in 2006. I then I purchased the company from my mom in 2008 when she inherited it from my dad. I ran that company for a few years. Anyway, me and my buddy Corey got to talking, and we talked about combining his expertise in the industry, my infrastructure on the operations side, and long story short, the rest is history. We started a company called Landmark Logistics. Last year, we partnered with a local equity company in Hawaii called Tradewinds Capital. They're amazing partners. We're super stoked. We spent just about the entire year of 2020 integrating with a company that we purchased called Aloha Freight. Aloha Freight's been in the freight game into Hawaii for close to 40 years. So we're super lucky to have found them. We did that deal. Now we're Aloha Freight. And like I said, we spent the greater part of this year integrating and merging those two companies. So that's it in a nutshell. Obviously, not more detail.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
That's pretty much what happened.
Yeah, when you're doing tens of millions of dollars in sales like you are, and you're integrating older brands and you're working with an equity company, obviously there's tons of details and devils in those details.
Oh yeah. It's been amazing, overall, but met with quite a few challenges, and of course the pandemic, which has been crazy, but overall it's great.
Yeah. So I'm curious, in working with an equity company, I think this would be just a topic in itself. Can you speak to me like how that became a play for you? Was it a new play? And then how did it play out for you that really became a pivot for you in expansion?
Yeah, man, so I could probably talk about this forever, but we were super lucky. So what happened last year, me and my partner, we actually did some consulting with our mutual buddy Bernard. Super enlightening, helped us a tremendous amount. We really looked at stepping on the gas and growing our business. By doing that, what it also did was open our eyes to the freight industry. And what happened is we realized what a juggernaut this industry is in Hawaii. There's a few major players. We were at the time pretty small. Landmark was a relatively small company. We're still doing 20 million in sales, but in the freight game, that's pretty small.
Mm-hmm.
And we reached out actually to one of our largest competitors to see if they were interested in acquiring us. Kind of a risky move, but we went down the road of selling to a competitor. That process just took forever. We kind of realized that that wasn't the right move for us at the end of the day. There's a whole bunch of reasons, we could go into detail for, like I said, forever, but it wasn't the right move. We didn't feel good about it at the end of the day. And then at the 11th hour, we found a local Hawaii-based equity company that was just so happened to already be in the logistics and wanting to expand in the logistics arena. So honestly, it was almost by chance. I reached out to a friend who knew a contact at this company. I reached out and they were interested. They wanted us to come aboard and jump into this deal that they were doing. So we were super stoked. It felt right. And working with this equity company, because we had also reached out to a few others. This one felt different. I don't know if you've been to Hawaii or no, but Hawaii has kind of its own little culture,
Mm-hmm.
and it's called, the Aloha spirit. It's unique to Hawaii, and we weren't really vibing with that with the mainland equity companies or even our competitor who was mainland based. So, we just felt right. The culture of the equity company, Tradewinds Capital, their mentality was about perpetuating Hawaii people, Hawaii businesses, the community. Those are things that we're highly involved in. It's been part of our mission since we started. We always try to give back. We've done numerous things in the community whenever we can, and so aligning ourselves with like-minded people just felt right. And we felt really good about it. We're glad we made that move because they've been true to their word ever since. And it's a little bit different, I think, from the typical equity company, because we've heard other stories where, it's all profit driven, results driven, and our deal, of course, we're responsible fiscally. Of course, we're trying to turn a profit and maximize our resources and things of that nature. But at the same time, it's just not all about that. It's also about the people, the community, and so for that reason, we're super lucky, and I'm super stoked that we found them.
That's a great story. What I really like is that you knew the right play financially, but you found the company that really embraced and harmonized with your ethos, your desire for community and supporting people. And I think if I can translate this correctly, it was part of the success that you now have.
Absolutely, 100%. I fully believe that. We probably left. We did leave millions on the table, at least from an upfront amount. But that wasn't the most important thing. And what was more important was about me and my business partners' longevity in the industry, our people, the legacy that we want to leave behind. That was what was truly important at the end of the day. We can always make more money, and if we do things right, we'll make that money anyway.
I absolutely agree. I think you worked from the legacy backwards, and that was the primary motivation, was the legacy.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I'm so glad to hear about businesses. And if you're listening to this on podcast, you're watching this on video now or in the future, I think it's really important that you're true to your legacy, that you understand what that legacy is, and you surround yourself with people. And Seiji, what you said, I vibe with, to use your word, 100%, which is you'll make the money eventually.
Yeah.
When you're true to that purpose.
Yeah, there's so many, there's all kinds of videos and information out there, and it talks about the why and things of that nature. And however that, works in for you, at the end of the day, that's what it's about. And if you can find that, and you can live and breathe that, and you find partners and, people within your company, your customers, your vendors, it all comes together. And exactly, you'll make the money when you figure that part out first. So that's kind of our goal and our mentality going into business. So far, it's been so good.
That's awesome. So now you got with this equity company. So now you're involved with them. You make the move with this other company. Can you kind of tell that story?
Making the move to Aloha Freight.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, man, that's if you were to ask me 7 months ago, I'll probably have a little different, flavor. But we worked. The strange thing about this year, 2020, there's been some silver linings. Obviously, it's been tough. We've had so many struggles. We've done some things we never thought we would in terms of approaching sales or reorganizing or putting resources certain places. But in a weird way, it brought us together, because we kind of had to. We had to kind of put the gas on some things that we might have done a little more delicately, if had not been for this pandemic. But what it allowed us to do is to, even if you're remotely, I think we connected more than we probably would have, even if I was flying back and forth from Hawaii to LA. I'm in Hawaii. Our major operations is in LA. I had planned to go there at least once a month or 2 weeks out of the month for the majority of this year, and the brakes were put on that in March. But nonetheless, what it kind of allowed us to do, and I look at it as a silver lining. There's opportunity in any disaster, and we did the best we could. And what it allowed us to do is to talk more, to communicate, to try to get on the same page, because we had to come together as a company to get through it. And I kind of think at the end it's going to be good for us, because merging two companies, this is the first time I've ever gone through it. It's no joke. We have different cultures. Merging the two cultures wasn't easy. Landmark was more of a sales-based driven organization. Aloha Freight was a more operational driven operation. So together we're perfect, but to get that synergy and to get in sync to where we want to push sales, but also strive for the best operations possible, that is no easy task, because at the end of the day, which is more important? And they're both important, but
Right.
trying to make them both important at the same time, it wasn't easy. So I feel though that the team we have now, I mean, for the most part, we have the majority is our employees that were here, a year ago, and I'm happy for that. I'm stoked that our team has, for the most part, been intact. We've gotten over that hump. I feel like we're set up very well for next year, and I don't know if we would be here if not for the pandemic. So that's just one of the bright sides. There's been many down, but there are definitely some bright sides, and we're fortunate for that. However you want to look at it.
Yeah, I think when you're with the right team and with that entrepreneurial spirit comes together, it's almost like the urgency of the moment elicits the best within us.
Yeah, exactly. That's basically what happened. We
Yeah.
had to. We're forced to. I mean, there's no.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's do or die, right?
Exactly. That's what it was.
You brought something up earlier, which was I found interesting, is that you had people or a company that was operational based or leaned mentally in that direction. And then you had another company that philosophically was like sales, sales, sales. What were the challenges in bringing those two mindsets together, and how did you resolve them?
Man, I mean, a lot of challenges. When you basically Aloha Freight, for the most part, well-oiled machine, consistent customer base, not very much turnover. And the funny thing is, when we were Landmark, we always respected Aloha Freight because we had such a hard time converting their customers, even though sometimes we could beat them on price or whatever. And we always respected that. So we're actually so stoked to be a part of this deal, because we we respected the company. And I think that was critical. So I think from our side, and I always speak for myself, we respected the company that we were merging into. And I think that was huge because for me and my partner and for my team to see that, I think was huge for us in overcoming some of the obstacles, we competed pretty hard with them. Some of the mentalities that Aloha Freight had in the beginning the feeling wasn't mutual. So we had to overcome some of those challenges with our name associated with us coming into their company. Even though we own it, we're still coming into their company. So that was a tremendous hurdle to overcome. But basically, at the end of the day, it comes down to proving it. Whatever we said didn't matter, and I get it. It shouldn't matter. It's what are we doing? And I think through the year, and it took the entire year for it to happen, but is actually growing sales the best thing? Is actually going after more business healthy? And I think we were able to massage that and overcome some of the mindsets that were in place with growth that wasn't there before. Especially, and that's why I'm saying that the silver lining with COVID was that we had to grow because we saw our top line, and we actually planned early. We saw it. We had sales meeting after sales meeting to really push our agenda for growing sales, and that was different. That was very different to what Aloha Freight had historically been used to. So, COVID allowed us to kind of put the gas on that, and thus, at the end of the day, prove ourselves that we can actually grow the business and keep a healthy operations going at the same time.
That's great. What do you think the internal resistance was to growing sales? Because I come from a school of thought of growing sales is vital to survival. It's job number one. What do you think? Where do you think businesses get this idea that growing sales is not as important?
Well, what I can say is it obviously comes from the leadership, and the leadership at Aloha, and it's not a good or bad thing. It's just, it is what it is. It's what it was. And the mentality was to maintain a super high quality product, service your customers well, and not necessarily look to create too many distractions within them. So I get it. And they were successful for a long time. But if you look at the numbers, it was pretty stagnant for many years, and so, through consulting and through all the, leadership things that we go through and all the things that we read and learn, if you're not growing, you're dying. And that's our mentality. We live and breathe that. We truly believe it. It's our certainty that we know that's the case. So we're always looking to expand and grow, because, for example, something like COVID happens, you have to be growing your company to withstand the valleys, So that's I think it's just basically, the leadership that was there before just wanted a very, very high quality product, and I can respect that. So that's why they were known as the best operational company. Very few mistakes, because they had the same customer base, year after year. So they knew the people, they knew what to do. And I kind of mentioned before, shipping to Hawaii is, it's a beast. I mean, every customer has different needs. So the more you grow, the more prone you are to mistakes.
I see.
Every single customer has a different need. They want this report. They want it delivered here. They want these content. They want the billing this way. They want you to hold freight. They want you to ship it as needed. There's all kinds of nuances that goes into it. So, for sure, the more you grow in this industry, the more mistakes you make. And so we try to curtail that with doing as much as we can up front to minimize the impact of potential mistakes down the road. So, it's a balance.
Yeah. Okay. I could see that. So, hey, if we get new customers, they got these crazy wild demands, then that opens the door to mistakes. Let's just keep to what we do right. Then we feel good at the day. We're making money. So why push the edge of the envelope?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly what it is.
So when you come in to bring new sales into this company, obviously you've got to develop processes that will catch and eliminate those mistakes.
Yep. So exactly what we've been doing for just about the entirety of this year is coming up with processes. Everything is process. What is our process for receiving? What is our process for loading? What is our process for customer service? We revamped our IT system to be more intuitive and user friendly for our staff. We're looking at technology. We brought in some new things that we've never done before in terms of technology. That's helping us provide a competitive edge and more features to our customers. But you hit the nail on the head. I mean, we're always talking about process every single meeting. We have exception reports. In a way, we're very proud to bring up and talk about the issues. So before we could kind of sense the mentality was not to really talk about it, to not discuss at the level that we are now, but through our consulting, through our training, we're all about understanding where our issues are, where our flaps are, where our exceptions are, because if you don't expose it, you can't fix it. And when we talk about fixing it, we're talking about the process. Where did the process break down? What is the root cause of it? And we try to fix it from there. So that was probably one of the biggest challenges as well with the merger, is changing the culture or changing the culture to a culture that we really want to expose, but we're not trying to get anybody in trouble. We want to be the best. We want to provide the best customer service, and you can't do that if you don't understand where you're making mistakes.
Yeah, I think smart entrepreneurs and inventors, if you look throughout history, they want to break it before the customer breaks it, so that they can fix it before the customer breaks it.
Exactly.
And having being a board member of a med tech company, it's the same thing with us. We've got 200 employees. It's always about process. What's the process for this? What's the process for that? Because then we're not running around like chickens with our head cut off on every new customer.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah. So you come in with the sales. Now you're working on the internal processes in terms of, how to bring people on, shipping, client acquisition. What are you doing to grow? What marketing are you doing or branding to get more exposure, to get more sales?
So what we've identified, and again, our industry is a little bit different. As a business to business company, obviously, so there's several things, but we probably don't do marketing the way that your typical company does marketing. A lot of it is through our sales force, through word of mouth. Hawaii is a small place. Reputation is everything in Hawaii. Who you know is very important. So aligning ourselves with people that have contacts is super important. And then on the mainland side, we've been super fortunate and lucky to find some key people that are in the industry of transportation, but maybe not necessarily Hawaii. So they have a ton of contacts. When RFPs come out, we can join those RFPs and things of that nature. So our marketing is more grassroots driven. We definitely do cold calling. We definitely have our website and a little bit of social media. But at the end of the day, we get our clients through contacts. Everything is contact driven. So that's what we put a lot of our focus on. That's what we put our money into, is people and giving incentives and things of that nature for sales. People that really try to drive the sales and through their contacts.
Yeah, I think you're working with industry influencers.
Yeah,
People
basically.
that can move the needle, that have large databases or large circles, centers of influence. And you're probably out there striking out some strategic alliances.
Oh, 100%. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's exactly what it is. That's kind of how it works in our game. Um, yeah, it's all about people who know people and have access to decision makers who control freight.
Yeah. I think though what's good, and this is the takeaway if you're listening to this or watching, is that marketing, there's no one set formula.
Hmm.
You really got to take a look
Absolutely.
at, like, how do the sales get acquired? Is it social media? Is it advertising?
Yes.
Or is it just knowing the right people and striking up an alliance with those people, tapping into their database, and now they start making the key introductions?
Yeah, exactly. You got to find what fits for your business. For us, that's what we discovered, and it takes time to learn some of these things, but when you
Hmm.
kind of dial it in, it works really well.
Yeah, yeah. So looking forward, 2021's a couple weeks upon us.
Mhm.
What's kind of the big vision and strategy for the next year or two?
Yeah, I'm super excited. I'm super excited for the future. I feel like, I mean, I'm gonna knock on wood, but I mean, hopefully, if we've gone through the worst, then I'm super excited
Yeah,
because I mean, to go through a pandemic and a merger, and we've come out what I feel is stronger. I feel like we can handle whatever the world will throw at us, and so I'm looking to take our momentum that we've garnered, especially as of late, roll that into 2021. We have a solid team. I'm super stoked for our people, our employees. We brought on some really good people through this year that unfortunately might have been let go or had to find alternatives from their past jobs. But lucky enough, we were able to acquire some amazing people, and so I'm super excited to grow in 2021, to take the things we've learned, further dial in our processes, and I feel like we can do some damage in 2021. I'm super excited.
yeah, that's great. I think you hit the nail on the head when you said if we can survive this. I think during bad moments we're obviously going through the pain of it,
Hmm.
but when you come out of it, it's almost like you come out a
You're
little bit
stronger,
more confident and stronger.
Yeah, like,
Absolutely.
I never broken a bone, but I heard if you break a bone, it grows back a little bit stronger.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's kind of what happened because yeah, I mean we there was some some darker days this year,
Yeah.
um, but overall and where we're at now, I'm super stoked.
That's awesome. Well, Seiji, I got a lot out of this interview. I mean, I think you're very in a very unique market. You've really proven that even during the darkest days, we can find silver linings.
Absolutely. Yeah, you have to.
And I think you were able to find those silver linings because you really stayed true to your culture and your vision.
Yeah, that's important. Truly
Yeah,
believe that.
that's
Yeah.
awesome. Any last words or tips that you would have for entrepreneurs that are in the B2B marketplace on, how they could be a better business person?
I mean, so I would just go back to our mutual buddy Bernard. If and he taught me something, and it's true. I mean, if you invest money all over the place, you invest money in various things, but rarely do entrepreneurs invest money in themselves. And
Mm.
we spent quite a bit of money investing in ourselves, but I firmly believe we would not be here if not for investing in ourselves, putting in some time and real hardcore time, learning, growing, training, and you have to reach out to people that are experts in that, and find people that know what they're doing. Learn new things, improve yourselves, and educate and grow. If in order to grow your business, you got to grow yourself. I guess that's
So
that's what I'm
true.
trying to say, and I think that was an eye opener for me, that I never realized. What could actually be the potential of that. And I will say that every day, until I die. I firmly believe that that was the difference maker in myself and my business.
Very wise words. I'm a true believer that if you're not developing yourself, have anything else from that.
Exactly.
Yeah, agreed. Well, Seiji, thank you so much for being on Growth Driven. Maybe a half a year from now, we can have you back on and you can tell us the post-pandemic expansion that occurred as a result of all this.
I love to.
Okay, great. Hey guys, this has been another edition of Growth Driven. I love doing this show, bringing guys like Seiji on, because number one, I learn a lot. If the only reason I did this show and podcast was for me, it'd be worth it. But as you probably know from following me on social media, I'm a very purpose-driven individual. And this, my takeaway from the pandemic was we had some silver linings, we had some growth, but I was so frustrated about seeing the plight of others that it became kind of almost my calling, if you will, to somehow add to the solution versus the bad news that everybody was drowning in. So I really appreciate, Seiji, you being here and
thank you.
Co-contributing to this community and this culture to help inspire other people to do better in the coming year.
Thank you. Appreciate it. It was good fun.
Yeah. We'll talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.